Hey everyone, what's going on? It is Zach, and today we are going to make a tier list of the Pokemon returning to the Indigo Disk. I tried to make this before and it ended up being way too long, so hopefully I can go in a little quicker, knowing a little bit more about the Pokemon on this list. And a couple more of them have been confirmed, but there are Pokemon here based on the leaks and the predictions, so if you are sensitive to that, you have this time to turn away. But before you do, don't forget to like and subscribe and let me know down in the comments below what Pokemon you are excited to return with the Indigo Disc. But in 3, 2, 1, here's our Pokemon, obviously. So these are the non-restricted Mons that are coming back, so we will be able to factor that in. Oh, we also need Latios and Latias. Hold on, because they were just confirmed. Okay, so I added in Porygon 2 because Porygon 2 does something a little bit different than Porygon Z, and then Latios and Latias because they were just confirmed in the trailer that just came out. And we also saw Galvantula. Galvantula was on this like leak / prediction tier list before this last trailer came out that had Galvantula in it. So I do want to say that like some of these other Pokemon like Excadrill and Scrafty are probably confirmed. And I also switched the F tier into the legal or Y list. So for example, like Keldeo is not going to be legal. For some reason on this list is Melcery and Beldum. I don't know why. But let's jump into it. I'm gonna try to go quick because I don't want to just fill this up with just blabbering. Venusaur, Chlorophyll, gonna use Terra Blast really well. I think it still has access to Weather Ball, so it can take advantage of the Terra Fire, for example, and just going to be overall like really good. Blastoids, Shell Smash is going to be gimmicky, but then it also has like access to Fake Out, Helping Hand, Icy Wind, stuff like that. I think Life Dew as well. So like Blastoids can be a decent like support mon. Oh, and Yawn is going to be good as well. Vileplume, just use Venusaur. Like Venusaur's better. I want to say like the only thing that Blossom has that Venusaur doesn't is that it gets access to like Dazzling Gleam, which okay. Dodrio, I think it needs a new ability. Like Dodrio needs a buff. Dewgong, basically like a thicker iron bundle. It has Icy Wind, it has like Ice Beam, it has Blizzard, Freeze Dry, Hydro Pump, stuff like that. All the things that like you usually see on a iron bundle, but you're a little bit thicker. You have the ability Thick That to take attacks a little better. So you can use a Terra that plays into that, a defensive Terra that plays into that ability. But other than that, like I don't like, it has Perish Song, maybe a Perish Song user, but I feel like there's still like other better ones on this list. Executor and Alolan Executor, I'm gonna put them in B. They're both gonna be like Trick Room users, but like in the sun with Harvest, like Harvest becomes like guaranteed in the sun. So you can use this with Torkoal and do really well with it. And Alolan Venusaur is even slower, so you can Terrasilize to get rid of that 4x ice weakness, to get rid of that fairy weakness. So I do think these are going to be decent Trick Room setters, as long as there's no taunt. Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. Mono fighting types are just like kind of like eh. Lapras is going to be a real good mon to go against Urshifu with. It has ice type moves to deal with the grass types that want to hit it hard, and it is just like what Dewgong wants to be, but better. Shell Armor is going to be a really good ability. You have access to things like Perish Song, like you can get really crazy with Sheer Cold. But I do think a bulky Lapras is going to be really good. Not as good as the Dynamax format because it doesn't set up Veil, but still good nonetheless. Meganium, why use Meganium? Feraligatr, I do think Sheer Force, Life Orb, Feraligatr could be really good here, especially with Terra. It has a decent move pool to take advantage of, so I can see someone finding success with Feraligatr. Not like big success, but like a cool team. I can see a cool team with Feraligatr. Blossom, same thing as Vileplume, just use Venusaur. It's probably faster than Vileplume, also does get Dazzling Gleam like Vileplume, but once again, just use Venusaur. Skarmory, I know it has spikes for like singles users and stuff like that, but just use Corviknight. Corviknight is basically the upgraded version of Skarmory. So I don't know. I would just say I have to look at the stats. I forget the stat differences, but I think Corviknight is better in most cases. Smeargle is going to be A. We'll have to see how it does against Urshifu, Rapid Strike Urshifu, especially because its favorite item is the Focus Sash. But other than that, I think teams that don't have that Urshifu are going to have a hard time against Smeargle. So I think Smeargle is still going to be good for those like mid-range battles. And Hitmontop. Hitmontop is definitely going to be an A tier mon. Intimidate, Wide Guard, Helping Hand, Fake Out, Close Combat, like Bullet Punch, Sucker Punch, has a lot of utility for it and is going to be good for dealing with that big burst of Incineroar mons that are going to be coming our way. So you can definitely try up Hitmontop. I do think that it will be decent into some matchups. The only thing that hurts it is just like its, its siblings here, is the mono fighting. So Incineroar does do better defensively, but this is going to do better against Incineroar. So we'll have to see how it goes. Next up is the Legendary Beast. I do think out of these three, like Suicune is going to be the best. Icy Wind, like Snarl, probably getting Scald back. It also gets Inner Focus and Tailwind, so it can be a non-priority Tailwind setter. So that can be really good, and it is a very bulky mon. So I can see Suicune probably getting a lot of usage and doing really well, even though there is a lot of there's a lot of competition for water types. Like you have to try to explain like why should you be used over Urshifu for the water typing, and I think that's going to be a challenge. But I think Suicune has a lot going for it, and it can give good answers to why. Raikou, Volt Switch, like it used to get access to Scald. I don't know if that will come back, but I do think that will be decent. And Entei, I think Entei probably behind Lapras. Entei was used a lot as a good Assault Vest user. Being able to get burns off on Pokemon will be really good with Sacred Fire and doing damage as well, as long as you hit it. But the thing that made Entei like very used in Sword and Shield was the fact that it had Bulldoze, so it would use it next to the likes of Solgaleo and Metagross to activate Weakness Policy after like Dynamax and stuff. Now that you don't double your health, I don't know how often it's going to be all willy-nilly to do that. So we'll have to see how Entei is used. I don't know if Bulldoze will get used as much as it used to in Sword and Shield. Sceptile, I think Sceptile is going to be decent. I would put Sceptile slightly over for Alligator. Once again, decent move pool. The ability Unburden can be activated with the Psychic terrain or the Grassy terrain, which is very common. So I think Sceptile here can be really good. It also gets access to Acrobatics, so having a Acrobatics mon that can do pretty decent damage into things like Urshifu with the Leaf Blade and stuff like that, I do think it can be pretty good here. We'll have to see. It kind of feels like it could become like a weaker Roaring Moon, so we'll have to see how that goes. Blaziken though, Blaziken, I'm gonna put it under for Alligator. This one we'll have to see because there's so much Tailwind right now. There's so much hyper offense. Like the fact that you have to protect to get the speed boost most of the time, to at least get one speed boost, like that kind of puts you at a big disadvantage, especially because like the speed boost players, it starts becoming very predictable for a lot of the people that will use Blaziken. They'll protect every other turn and you can start playing around that. But there is one thing that like fascinates me, is that I was watching False Swipe Gaming and they talked about Blaziken teams with like Bisharp and stuff. So I think Blaziken and like King Gambit could be really good here. We'll have to see how that goes. Swampert, like Water Ground in a format where Rillaboom is like really tough. It does have like decent moves, but its like hidden ability is Damp. It doesn't have the Swift Swim of its Mega Evolution, so I don't know how well it would do. It is pretty bulky, but once again, in a format with Rillaboom, in a format with Ogerpon, I don't know how successful it can be. We'll have to see. Flagon. Flagon is really going to be helped by Terra. You know, getting that Terra Poison or Terra Electric to help with the Levitate ability and cancel out a lot of weaknesses is going to be pretty good, but we'll have to see like what it does with its special attack and how it plays. I do think there's probably a lot better mons that you could use over the Flagon, especially if you're using it for like the Terra and the Levitate ability. Now that we know that we have Latios and Latias, but we'll see how it goes. Metagross is gonna be good, but I think it's like probably bottom of A, like borderline B, because it benefited so much from the proccing of weakness policy. We don't know how often that's going to be utilized now. And now that it doesn't use weakness policy, like what item is it going to go back to? Is it going to go back to the Life Orb? Is it going to be Assault Vest? We'll have to find out. Being able to Terra to get rid of some, like its weaknesses, its ground type weakness, fire type weakness, dark type weakness, is going to be really good with it, especially with priority moves like Bullet Punch, with Natural Stab Bullet Punch. To have that in a format where Fluttermane is really good is kind of nice to see. So I hope Metagross is really good. Bastiodon, why? Sheldon, maybe if it gets Body Press, I think it could be like a decent like Trick Room mon. This is something I kind of like talked about in like my one theory crafting video, with also like the Unburdened Sceptile. Like I think Unburdened Sceptile and Indeedee could do really good. I think Bastiodon could do decent in Trick Room, but what can do better in Trick Room is probably Rhyperior. Rhyperior definitely like top of C. Like it dropped down in usage really bad with Urshifu, and Urshifu once again is dominating. But I feel like if you can get the Trick Room up, bringing in Rhyperior is really good, especially it gets access to things like Thunder Punch. So having that move, Rock Slide, Stomping Tantrum, stuff like that, I feel like is going to be decent once Trick Room is up, and it can Terra, and it's very bulky. So I feel like it can do well against like size spam and stuff like that, especially with like a spread Rock Slide. Magmortar, I don't know. There's just so many other like fire types you could use over Magmortar, especially like with Entei coming back and like Chiyu. Like you have to ask yourself, like when putting Magmortar on a team, and it's just like, what does Magmortar do that Chiyu doesn't? And how do you justify using it over Chiyu? I don't know. Give it Armor Cannon though. Look at its hand. Give it Armor Cannon. Superior, once again, just like Blaziken, I do think it's going to be predictable. It's going to be gimmicky. So when that happens, it becomes like easy to shut down. Blastoids is kind of the same way, but Blastoids has more utility other than just Shell Smash. It does have support with Fake Out, Yawn, like, and all that stuff. So like I can see Blastoids like being used differently because you have to play it differently. But with Blaziken and Superior, it's kind of like they're very linear play styles. Emboar, I'm not certain about Emboar. The fighting fire type isn't too bad. It probably can deal with Arcanine really well, but we'll have to see how it does with Terra. I would put it right under Swampert. I think Swampert would have more utility and more like a wider move pull, but I think Emboar can probably pull something off. Zebstrika, I'm sorry Herald, but what's Zebstrika doing? I'd put it slightly above Dodrio. It gets Zap Zipper. It gets one ability where it gets a speed boost. I think it's Motor Drive. It gets like a boost off of like electric type attacks, a speed boost, or it can have Lightning Rod where it gets a special type. But this is like mainly a physical attacker, so like I don't know. There's so many other ways to deal with grass type moves, and There's so many other ways to get like speed boost. It really doesn't have a great ability. It doesn't have great bulk. I don't think it's like, and then its physical attack isn't like the best. So I don't know. Whimsicott, definitely S tier. Tailwind, Helping Hand, Moonblast, all that crazy stuff. Now there's Terastallization to get rid of some weaknesses. There's Covert Cloak to say no to Fake Out. Whimsicott's going to be really good. Nonetheless, Minccino. If this gets Pop Bomb, hear me out. If this gets Pop Bomb, I think it's probably more offensive than Mousehold. 95 attack, 115 speed. Yeah, faster and hits harder. So I think if you can give it Pop Bomb, it'd be really good. If it doesn't get Pop Bomb, like Mousehold is just better. Like Technician, Pop Bomb, Wide Lens, Friend Guard, bottom C. I don't think it. I don't. Yeah, it's in that Zep Striker range. Reuniclus, I think also could be a good Trick Room setter. With the Magic Guard, it can use Life Orb with no drawbacks, so I do think that's going to be pretty decent here. Golurk, Iron Fist, once again, like maybe in a Trick Room. Demon, Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion. I think the best one is going to be Terrakion for sure. Justified, Beat Up, Rock Slide, Tailwind, all that stuff like that is going to pair good with Whimsicott. And we'll have to see what Terastallization does for it because it is pretty bulky naturally. Cobalion, Virizion though, bottom of C. Like they're gonna be gimmicky. The Steel typing might benefit Terrakion more, like, and put it a little bit ahead of Virizion, but we also have to see how their Paradox forms deal with the metagame, because I feel like the Paradox forms can probably be used better than the Swords of Justice counterparts, depending on whether you're using Beat Up or not. Which one gets Prankster? I think this one gets Prankster. This one is going to be obnoxious. Prankster's skill swap. Amoonguss. That's all I'm saying. Also gets access to Fake Out, I believe. I think they both get access to Fake Out. So Prankster, Fake Out, Thunderwave, all that stuff. I'm pretty sure that this one gets Prankster and this one doesn't. Whichever one gets Prankster is A. Whichever one doesn't get Prankster is C. Malamar, good for Intimidate, good for Trick Room. See how topsy-turvy it could be? Like, can you imagine hitting Dondozo with that topsy-turvy? That'd be pretty funny. Dark type, good against Ice Spam. So, like, knock off superpower. Like, can do decently well. So I will put that above, yeah, but like below M4. C, or not C, S. Incineroar. It's Incineroar. I don't need to talk about it. It's Incineroar. Primarina, good Urshifu answer, strong Mon, fairy typing, liquid voice, hyper voice. I think it's gonna be up here. It's crazy like how many water types are good that are coming, and they have to compete. Toucannon. I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't. Flying type, Tailwind, Beak Blast, Skill Link. I don't think it's good enough though. Alcremie has good support, but doesn't really have like healing moves, doesn't have like redirection. So like the only thing it really has going for it is like Decorate and like Aroma Veil and like Sweet Veil and stuff like that. But being Mono Fairy, like I don't know. I don't think it does enough as a supporter, like versus like an Indeedee female or Whimsicott or something like that. so it's like hard to justify. Duraludon, we know that evolution is coming. I do think Eviolite is going to be tried. I do think that Eviolite will not be that good. I would use it over Malamar. I don't know why these are here again. Lantern, Water Absorb, Volt Absorb. Other than that, it really doesn't have much going for it. Grand Bull, Intimidate, Mon, Fairy typing. I don't know. If I don't have anything nice to say about it, I think it should automatically go in the D tier. Kingdra, Swift Swim, Dragon typing. Could be decent, could do well with the Terra typing. We'll have to see. The Swift Swim though, I do think it would put it slightly above Swampert. Electivire, I tried the Motor Drive with like kind of like a Disquake, like Discharge and Motor Drive. It does have good move coverage, so honestly I would use it before Magmortar because it gets access to Ice Punch, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, like all that stuff like that. I think you can do decent with it, especially with the Terra. Porygon Z, Adaptability, Life Orb, Terra Normal is going to be really good. Getting it in a position to do that freely, we'll see how it goes. Excadrill, Tyranitar's only chance to do well again. Steel typing is going to be really good. And now, like, you could run Earthquake a little more freely if you are Terra Flying Tyranitar. So that could be pretty good here. Scrafty, Dark type, Fake Out. I think it could be a decent Fake Out Mon for like Trick Room teams, but it's hard to justify the Dark fighting like 4 times a week to Flutter Mane. It does have Fake Out. That's really the only thing going for it. Galvantula, Sticky Web, stuff like that. It is bug typing though, so I don't think it's going to get used that much. Araquanid is going to be scary to deal with. Getting a defensive typing with like the water bubble, you can do a lot with that. Like, and Araquanid has the capability to hit hard with like not a lot of attacking investment. So we'll have to see, but I think Araquanid is going to be pretty good. Comfey is going to be obnoxious. It is going to be really good. It is going to take advantage of those grassy terrains. It's going to be a good Trick Room setter. It's going to be a good supportive Mon, decent Fairy typing, like Triage with like Draining Kiss, with Giga Drain, with Flower Healing, Trick Room, stuff like that. It's going to be good. But then again, like for Farigiraf, like shuts it down completely. So I don't know. I would put it behind Lapras. I'd put Lapras a little higher. Porygon 2, Bolt Beam, Defensive Terra, Eviolite, Trick Room, Recover. It's going to be good. Minior, I haven't seen Minior in forever, so I don't know. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of D. Latios and Latias. Latios, I do think the supportive one is going to be more beneficial. But there's also going to be a place like once again the Levitate with Terra Poison like is going to be really good. The Levitate with Terra Electric is going to be really good, and being able to hit really hard is going to be pretty helpful. They do have a lot of weaknesses, so it is going to be something you have to play around, and might be a Terra Hog, but they did get like Tailwind support at Sword and Shield, I believe. So if they get Tailwind back, having like a bulky Tailwind setter that can still hit hard is going to be really good. So that's the list though. Definitely feel like I did better this time on time. Of course, only Mons that are going to be S rank are Whimsicott and Incineroar. I don't think Smirgle is going to be as scary as we thought it would be. The one of the only Mons that I would argue that could be S is probably between like Primarina and Suicune, but that's about it. Once again, there are some Mons that like I really don't fully remember, or I haven't used them enough to know what they're capable of, but like there's also a lot of Mons on here like Blossom and Vileplume that are just upstaged by other Pokemon, and so that brings them down on the list. And then like these setup Mons like Blaziken can be good, Superior can be really good, especially if like unchecked, but the thing is like they are so like one tracked with their game styles and their play styles. I do think they're going to be easy to deal with, especially for experienced players. And then there's going to be like those straight gimmicky Mons like Malamar and stuff. But let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Am I completely wrong? Am I missing anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Can't wait for the DLC. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you made it this far in the video, I want to say thanks for watching. Till next time, I'm Zach. We'll see everyone later.